Hello guys, this is our day 2 of, and it's now called 5.4, but it's the day 2 of 5.3. Here we have sine of A is equal to 1/2, cosine of A is greater than 0. It means that the sine and the cosine are positive. The only position possible for this is in the first quadrant, where the sine is 1/2, and this is therefore square root of 3. Keep this in mind, this is for A. Now, tangent of B is 3/4. For the tangent to be positive and the sine to be less than 0, tangent is positive, sine is less than 0. That means sine is negative. We have our all student tech calculus. The only place where the tangent will be positive and the sine will be negative will be in this quadrant. So if I want to label it where they both negative, so this is the opposite is -3 and the adjacent is -4, but the hypotenuse will be 5. Let's go ahead and write down what we're looking for. We're looking for the sine of A minus B. Well, the sine of A minus B is equal to, if you break it down into, it will be sine of A times the cosine of B minus the sine of B times the cosine of A. Let's replace everything by its value. The sine of A, note that this is A and this is B. The sine of A here, I'm labeling the angles. The sine of A is 1/square root of 3. So I will call this one 1/square root of 3. The cosine of B is -4/5. I will use parentheses here because I have a negative, minus the sine of B. Sine of B here is -3/5. And the cosine of A, I'm going to use parentheses around it. The cosine of A is square root of 3/2. Let's go ahead and multiply each. That's -4/5 root 3. And this one is double negative, I'll make it positive, and this is 3/3/10. From here, if you want to combine those two, this one is missing, this one has an extra. Let's find the common denominator. So to find the common denominator, this one has 5/square root of 3. So I'll multiply top and bottom here by square root of 3. But this one doesn't have a 10, so I'll multiply top and bottom here by 2 as well. And if I, after multiplying, I will get -8 here over 10 square root of 3. I can keep that as the common denominator. And this one I will have 3 times 3, which is 9. So here I have 1/10 square root of 3. I will accept this answer, but of course you should know it by now. I prefer my answer to be fancy, but if you're not sure you can make it fancy, stop here. So if I multiply the top and bottom by square root of 3, I will end up with square root of 3 on top, and on the bottom I should have 30. Once again, I will accept either or. I can accept this or this. Alright, the next one says find the exact value of sine 15, cosecant 15, and cosine 15. Let's start with the sine of 15. I will say sine of 15. Because I'm not familiar with 15, I will look for angles that I'm familiar with. I think it's the same thing as the sine of 45 minus 30. But I do know what the sine of 45 minus 30 is. So this is the sine of 45 times what? Cosine of 30 minus the sine of 30 times the cosine of 45. For 45, I know that the sine and cosine are 1/square root of 2 or square root of 2/2. I can graph those 45. Now, here's my 45-degree angle where I have 1 square root of 2. And I will label it 45 degrees. And for my other angle, which is my 30-degree angle, is right here where I have 1 square root of 3 and 2. And of course, this is my 30 degrees. Let's go ahead and replace each by its value. The sine of 45 is 1 over root 2. The cosine of 30, I look here and it's square root of 3 over 2. Minus, note that this is a product. Minus the sine of 30. The sine of 30 is actually 1 over 2. And the cosine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2. Let's go ahead and multiply. This will be square root of 3 over 4 minus, actually over 2 root 2. That would have been a mistake there. Minus 1 over 2 root 2. If I combine it, I get square root of 3 minus 1 over 2 root 2. I will accept this answer. Definitely accept this. However, you can go further. And if you go further, you will multiply top and bottom by square root of 2. You should end up with square root of 6 minus plus square root of 2. Once again, you do not have to make it fancy. I meant minus. That's a little mistake there. And everything over 4. Either or, I would definitely accept this answer. And I can also accept this answer. So it's up to you which answer you want to pick. Alright, now that we did the sine, it will be very easy to do cosecant of 15. So for cosecant of 15, I would just say cosecant of 15 degrees is the same thing as 1 over the sine of 15 degrees. Because I just calculated the sine of 15 degrees, I can just use these. So I'm going to use that and I will say it is equal to 1 over this one. So if I do 1 over, I'm going to use the non-fancy one. If I do 1 over this, I'll just flip the fraction and I will say it's 2 square root of 2 over square root of 3 minus 1. This is definitely fine. Or you want to make it fancy, you multiply top and bottom one by square root of 3 plus 1. That's again, once again, to make it fancy. That will be 2 times square root of 6 plus 2 square root of 2. Everything over 3 minus 1, meaning 2. Or square root of 6 plus square root of 2. So this is an answer, and this is definitely another answer. So you pick. I will stop here, but you can also go all the way here. It's up to you. But if you decide to go this route, make sure you know what you're doing. Let's do the last one. The last one says cosine of 75. Cosine of 75 degrees. 75 degrees is not a familiar angle. So I will do cosine of 75 is actually 30 and 45. Now that we have cosine, I can actually break it into pieces by saying it's cosine of 45 or 30, doesn't matter, times the cosine of 45 minus the sine of 30 and the sine of 45. I will use the same triangles that I made earlier. You can always refer to this. Now, let's start with the cosine of 30. The cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. This one is 1 over square root of 2 minus 1/2, and this is 1 over square root of 2. I'm getting these answers based on the triangles that I built earlier. So this one will give me square root of 3 over 2 root 2 minus 1 over 2 root 2, where they have already a common denominator. So I will just say it's square root of 3 minus 1 over 2 root 2. Multiply the top. By the way, this is an answer, but I can always go further. Multiply the top and bottom one by square root of 2. That will give me square root of 6 minus square root of 2 divided by 4. This is also another answer. This is fancy and this is not fancy. You pick what you want. Once again, I recommend you use this. That's the best answer to my knowledge. This is just me.